the recording and ask for Chris to introduce herself to everyone.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am going to keep an eye on the time and ask Barbara to help me out with that because I got a lot to tell you about today, and I want to hit up some of your questions as well. So my name is Christine Voelker. I am the K-12 Program Director here at Quality Matters. My Twitter handle is @VokerC, and you can also follow at K12QM to follow all of the QM K-12 happenings. So I'm going to get started now and just today in this session, I really just wanted to go through a lot of the different questions that we get here at QM about K-12 course reviews. And so they run the gamut of different types of questions. And so I'm going to go through some of them today. And also I want to talk a little bit about the reasons why you know, some vendors in particular end up coming to Quality Matters to get their courses reviewed. So I wanted to start with this first question, which is one of the biggest questions that we get, and this is why I wanted to start with this one. And it's, how do I know which K-12 review type to choose? So in our K-12 rubric, this is our K-12 rubric. So our K-12 rubric has actually two rubrics in one. It has what we call our K-12 rubric and then our K-12 publisher rubric. So these are our two different review types, and there are different reasons why you would choose one over the other. So in a K-12 review, that's a review that we recommend for people who have courses that were either developed locally at their own school or maybe within their district. And the intent of those courses for being developed was so that they could be used internally. They're going to be used internally inside their district. Their own teachers are going to teach those courses. Our K-12 publisher reviews, that's a review type that people choose either if they're a course vendor, they're a provider. So maybe they work for a company and that company has developed a course. So those are vendors who are selling their courses to other schools and districts. However, it doesn't have to be just that. It could be schools and districts who maybe are in a course choice state who have a course that is going to be used by another school or district. And the intent is that that course will have a teacher from that other school or district put onto that course. So here you'll see in the K-12 there's a little teacher by it. Normally that has a teacher already assigned to it. K-12 publisher, you know, that's kind of stripped out because that's up to the district who is adopting the course to assign that teacher. So those are the two review types there. Remember, if you have any questions about anything that I'm covering, just go ahead and put it in the Q&A and we'll get to them. Okay, so that's the first step. The first step is identifying what type of review you're going to do. Once you know that, and you either know whether it's a K-12 review or a K-12 publisher review, then that is going to determine the set of standards that are going to be used to review your course by the review team. So and the way you know how that works is that in the rubric, each of the standards is identified by a little key. And the little key with the school means that it is for a K-12 course. If it has that little kind of file going out, that means that, you know, that is a course that is going to be used somewhere else. So that's how you identify it. Some of the specific review standards can be used by both. And so there's a lot of overlap, but there are some that are just identified for a review of a publisher review, for a review of a K-12 review. That little seedling there at the bottom identifies whether or not it's a specific review standard that is used particularly in an elementary level course. So you'll see that little seedling there in the rubric as well. So once we know which standards are going to be used in your review, then that also determines the number of people who are going to make up that review team. So if it's a K-12 review, there's going to be 3 people on the team. If it's a K-12 publisher review, there's going to be 2 people on the team. So once we know that, the next question is, what type of review do you want done? Do you want a full review or a template/content review? So a full review is one where the review team will review the whole gamut of specific review standards within that standard set. A template content review happens in 2 phases. So what happens is there are standards that are identified with a T. There are standards that are identified with a C. The ones with a T are what we refer to as template standards. So those standards are standards that, you know, they're going to be similar across the board. So we're going to know that if you built your courses on a template, then in the English course, in the math course, in the science course, that's going to look the same. The content standards are the ones that are going to change. So phase 1 in a template content review, and this is really for people who have a lot of courses that they're going to send through. So maybe they have, like, usually we say if it's over 5, but mostly I see if people have like 20 courses that they're going to send through, they do a template content review. So we do the template review and we review 3 courses that are from different disciplines, and just review the T standards. Then after that, any other courses that are put through for review are put in what we call a content review. And the reviewers will just review the C standards. All the T standards will flow into it, will be aggregated together with a score, and the final report will reflect the whole entirety of the review. So those are the 2 types of reviews there. So the next question that I get a whole lot, and I have a lot of questions to cover, so I'm probably going to go a little quick. So the next question I get a lot is, what do I need to submit ahead of the review? What needs to be done before the review actually starts? So a couple of things here. Once you complete an application to submit a course, what happens is you'll get a course worksheet sent to you by our quality assurance team. It's automatically generated. It's essential to getting your review started, and it allows you to tell the reviewers some things about the course that maybe they wouldn't know. If there are particular things that you want to drill down into a little bit more, you can put that on the sheet. If there are things that they may not know just by looking at the course, but you want them to know kind of like the context within it, you can put all of that on the course worksheet. The course worksheet is also going to ask you some things for you to submit so that the reviewers can do their job. One is that it's going to ask you to submit the course level objectives. And so you're going to submit a list of course level objectives. So what are the students going to be expected to master by the end of the course? And then also the module or unit level objectives. So you're going to submit both of those. And then if your course has state standards or another set of standards like AP standards that this course is going to be aligned to, that's where you're going to upload the link to those standards from the state so that our reviewers can check to make sure that everything is in alignment. So we have a specific review standard called 2.3C. 2.3C looks to see that the course and the module unit objectives are in alignment. So you'll see here that it says provide a correlation document. Now, the next question I get is, what is a correlation document and why do I even need to submit it? So the correlation document is actually a document that shows the state standards, then it shows the relationship or the correlation between the state standards, the course objectives, and then the unit objectives. So it just shows how everything flows together, just to make sure that things are all correlated so that we can make sure that that 100% of the state standards are met, so that that course is covering all of the curriculum that needs to be covered to meet those state standards. So that's why we need a correlation document. And this is one example of how a correlation document could look. The next question that I get a lot is, what happens in a review? So this is just a a graphic that shows you how the course review process works. The first thing that happens is that your organization will assign a course representative. So that course representative is the person who completes that course worksheet, submits all of that information. A lot of times, if it's a provider or a vendor, they have one person who's in charge of submitting all the course reviews. So actually, their job gets easier and easier as they get used to our system and they know what we're looking for. Once we do that, we have what we call a pre-review call. And the pre-review call includes the review team, which is put together once you submit the application and we know what the course is. When you're doing the course worksheet, we'll be getting the course review team together, including the subject matter expert and a master reviewer on the team. So we'll make sure that we have our team together. So we'll have a pre-review call with the review team, with the course representative. For a lot of our providers who submit a lot of courses, once they have gone through, I think it's either 3 to 5, but I can find out the exact number of course reviews, they don't have to attend that pre-review call unless they really want to. So once they know the ins and outs of a course review, they can opt out of that call. Once we have all the information on the course worksheet, it goes into the review phase, and the reviewers go and they do their job. They apply the rubric to the course. They write helpful recommendations and feedback on whether or not your course met each and every specific review standard. Then it gets aggregated all together into a score. Once that is done, you'll receive a final report with the feedback from the reviewers. If the course met standards, great, it is QM certified. If it doesn't meet standards, it will. It's just a matter of time because the reviewers will have written measurable feedback so that you can take that feedback, make those changes to your course, and then submit that course again, all in the same cycle. So it's not a matter of, I'm going to have to submit it again, it's going to cost more money. All within that cycle, you make the changes, submit that course back, then it's going to get QM certified. Then we have a post-review call, which I should have said there. There's always open communication within the whole review process so that if there's any questions anywhere along the line, people can ask those questions. All right, so the next question that we get a lot is, how do I know if my course is ready? And this is, right now in this, in the time that we're living in, people have a lot of anxiety. People who are getting ready to submit their courses have that anxiety all the time. They're always worried about, in a different level, of course, but they're worried about, is my course ready to be submitted? What's going to happen in the review? Oh my gosh, I'm so worried about the review. I don't know how I'm going to do. I'm really worried about the feedback. Don't worry. First of all, you're going to know that your course is ready when a few different things are in place. So one of the things is to make preparations beforehand and ask yourself, have I reviewed the rubric? And that means the rubric in its entirety. Some people like to say they've reviewed the rubric. They don't realize that within this rubric, there are tons and tons of annotations. these are the things that the reviewers are going to dive into and actually look for. So we always tell people when they are submitting a course for a review, make sure that they are familiar with the rubric and the standards and also the annotations so that they know what the reviewers are going to look for. Especially with providers, a lot of times we recommend that they go through our professional development just like our reviewers do so that they understand how it's going to be looked at and evaluated. Second question to ask, are the course level objectives measurable? So are they measurable? Do I know what a student is going to be does the student know what they're going to be responsible for having learned at the end of the course? So that is one thing that you need to go back and make sure. If your objectives in the course are not measurable, then that course review is not going to even start. So make sure that those course objectives are measurable. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us about, how different tips and tricks on how to figure all that out. And then are the module unit level objectives measurable and located within the course? Lastly, the question to ask yourself is my course in alignment? And is that alignment demonstrated for the student? So what is alignment and how is it demonstrated? I'm going to go through this as well. And then, oh, my dog wants to get in. So alignment means that all the critical course elements work together to ensure that students achieve the desired outcomes. So this is where we look at the objectives. So are the objectives in correlation to the state standards? That's phase one. So we're making sure that this is in alignment. The phase two part is making sure that everything else works coherently together. So the assessments, the instructional materials, the activities, and the tools, those are all working in tandem with one another. It's a tricky thing to figure out. And one of the second pieces to this, and this is really important for someone who is submitting a course or reviewing a course, is making sure that a student understands why they're doing what they're doing. And that is what we call demonstrating alignment. So we can look at it like this. So there's different ways to demonstrate alignment. One way is by providing a narrative, and you can see that on your screen. Another way is by providing a course map so that you can see where everything is in the course and how they are intertwined. A numbering system so that you can see up here C.6, that's the course objective, U.6.1.C, that is the unit level objective. So if you went to their course and unit level objectives, you would see all those listed out. Or you could add links. So complete the checking out a blog worksheet, and there would be a link back to your objectives. Another question we get a lot, what can I do with my certification mark? So once your course is certified, you can promote it, promote it, promote it. So let people know that your courses are QM certified. You can use that mark within your course. You can indicate on your course catalogs what courses are QM certified. You can have that as another document. On our website, we have lots and lots of ideas for how you can promote that your courses are QM certified. So that would be a good thing to check out. And then lastly, what states will accept QM certification? So more and more states every day are joining us in recognizing QM certified courses that schools and districts across their state can use. Maryland, Missouri, South Dakota, Texas, California, Indiana. So we're working with a bunch of those states in order to have their schools and districts able to use QM certified courses. We do certify a course against a certain state standard. So once you get your course certified in one state, you can always do a supplemental state review, which will then then look at the alignment standards, make sure that they're aligned with the other state standards. So we do that as well. In California, especially, a lot of people need to get their courses on their AG list. We are now an approved provider for that. And so if you have your courses QM certified, it will not have to go through the process of being vetted by UC. So it will be then on the list, and if your course is actually vetted because it wasn't QM certified and it doesn't meet their standards, then they will automatically send you to QM. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But I wanted to, I know I don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to go back and see, Barbara, if there's any questions. And I ran through that so quick.
I know there are no questions. If anybody wants to quickly type one into the Q&A, then we certainly can ask those. I see that Chris has put up her contact information as well as that of Director of Quality Assurance, Melissa Poole. And looks like we do have a question from Kendall asking, as an online school, we are doing a template review and worksheet right now. Curious, as we align to many states and each state has their own standards, will the review team look at all of them?
So that's a great question, and that's actually another one that we get quite a lot. What we do is we actually have you submit. You're going to decide, okay, which state do I want to use first and foremost? Because we're only going to look at one state at a time, because we need to make sure that everything is in alignment in that kind of funnel to that one state. So you'll say, we want it reviewed against like the California state standards. So you'll put in the link to that. However, if eventually you want it certified against other state standards, then we'll do what's called a supplemental state review. And since you have that one core review done, okay, what we'll do is we'll go in and do just a review with one master reviewer that's going to look at just the alignment standards. So there'll be 7 standards that they look at to make sure that it's aligned to that other state standards. And that will give you a new certification mark and another course certification. I hope that answered your question. But I'd be happy to talk more too if you want to set up a call.
Okay, looks like we do have another question coming in. Kendall just says, thank you, very helpful. So that's great. Sounds
You're
like
welcome.
question was answered there. All right, well, we are at the end of our time for Chris's presentation, so I want to thank you very much, Chris. You can go ahead and stop sharing your screen, and I'm going to stop the recording.